Welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig right here in Starshop Studio. And we are interviewing such an interesting entrepreneur, Robi Bouderau, who created his own production company, became an actor, started as a bartender, and has the most interesting life story. Ray, I think you are one of the most interesting people that I've met all year.
Oh, thanks. That says a lot.
Yeah.
I hope I live up to the expectation.
You already have. You're very open and honest about your journey and your story. You started off as a bartender who had a dream of being an actor.
That's right. Yeah, I actually started off as a dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
At 14 when I first got my working papers. Before that, I even worked. I was walking kids to school, babysitting. Oh, I was always on the hustle. I was a poor kid that didn't want to grow up to be a poor man.
So when you were young, did you realize you were poor? Because there are a lot of people that grew up without a lot of money and they didn't realize it because their frame of reference was the people around them. Didn't really notice it. You knew it.
I was a little poorer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
Eviction notices and
Oh,
phone
wow.
shut off, and it was a struggle. My mom was a single mom, and
Okay.
she did the best she could, and but
Do you have siblings?
I have an older brother and two half sisters that are 10 and 11 years older than me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So do you remember what you said to yourself as a child that motivated you throughout your life? Because a lot of people want to be rich. A lot of people want to be successful financially, and it somehow escapes them.
Yeah, I didn't have a plan. I just knew I didn't want to be poor.
Yeah.
And I started working very early, like I said, paper routes, walking dogs, walking kids to school, like everything to hustle.
You were hungry.
I was a hustler, and
Yeah.
and I liked to be able to have money in my pocket and go to the store and buy what I needed, and and I never lost that. When I was 14 and I was first able to get my legal working papers, I got my first job as a dishwasher and a sizzler. And I stayed in the restaurant business predominantly for the next 15 years. I left and tried other things, and everything I tried was always just about getting out of the street.
So did you have the sense that if you were working and working hard that you would stay on the right track?
No, not necessarily. It was definitely, I was on a track. It definitely wasn't the right track.
It wasn't the right track.
No, I was a party boy.
Yeah.
And
That must be why I like you, because I was a party girl in my past.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's something to be said about partying when you're younger, because that's when you're supposed to do it. And then when you become an adult, you can't make those choices without paying for it.
there are consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sober a long time, 17 years. And the
I just
reality
have to say that I loved when I was looking at your Instagram that you talked about sober living and sober life and just so open about it. And you mentioned before the show that you were never anonymous about sober living.
No. I came from two worlds that were just inundated with alcoholism and drug addicts. Like first the bar business, then the construction business.
Yeah.
So when I got sober, it was what I owed to show guys there was another way, especially the guys that I drank and drugged with. You didn't have to be like this. It could be better.
What was the turning point for you when you said, you know what? I need to live a sober life. This is not the right way to live my life anymore. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to be a drug addict.
So it was a progressive. I had a progressive recovery, as it were. My mom had gotten sober a few years earlier. I remember I was about 25, and I didn't want to stop drinking. I just needed a break because I was bartending out in the Hamptons. I was making a boatload of money, and I didn't have any. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment in Flushing with secondhand furniture, and I was making all this money, but I didn't have anything to show for it. And her and a kid I grew up with had gotten sober, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take a break. And I went to my first AA meeting, and it's the only one I went to, but I heard, don't drink for 90 days. And I didn't. And life got better. Unfortunately, life got good enough to drink again. And I repeated that cycle several times over the next 4 years.
But I think that's such an important message, because sometimes when people are trying to get sober, it doesn't happen right away. And you were mentioning to me that you had this dream of being an actor, and that you liked the dream. You would get your headshots taken, but you wouldn't send out any headshots.
When in my 20s, I was incapable.
Yeah.
I was incapable of. I was the hamster on the wheel, working to drink, drinking to work. I had blonde highlights and a diamond earring, and I was having a grand old time. And I had dreams of greatness, but I had no real ability to follow through with them or to pursue them.
What did greatness to you look like at that time of your life?
I being discovered behind the bar and being the next Bruce Willis, being a superstar and one of the rich and shameless. That was my big fantasy. That was my big dream.
As an actor,
yes,
you wanted to be discovered.
I didn't have a real plan, but I had the dream.
Do you think you somehow at that point had access to a reality that didn't exist yet, and that's once you got sober, you were able to create a path that was more realistic to get there?
No.
Oh.
No, because I didn't have a plan to get where I am now.
So let's just tell people, just before you got into acting and becoming an executive producer and having your own production company, you were and still are a successful real estate developer, restaurateur in the construction business.
I was a restaurateur. I did own some real estate, and I still do. I wouldn't say I was a real estate developer so much. I am in construction. I built the World Trade Center Memorial.
That's amazing.
I'm currently building one Vanderbilt over on 42nd Street. I do reinforced steel for concrete, so I'm a subcontractor to concrete companies. My customer, Novelist Contracting, a guy named Donald O'Sullivan. He was the guy who gave me my first start when I started my company a little over 12 years ago. And I still work for him to this day. He really facilitated the life I have today and everything I have.
Did you know that going into this particular business would be lucrative?
I knew at the time, when I got out of the bar business at 29, I started working construction. I was good at it. I moved up quickly. I had certain character defects that were nothing but assets on a construction site.
Like what?
I don't work for love of the game. I don't work for friends. I work for money.
Yeah.
I was a serious guy, and I was good at it. I was good at the math. I was good at manpower management, moving material, moving men.
So you were not distracted. You were focused.
I'm very focused.
You're very focused.
Yes.
And very timely, by the way.
I am punctual.
Yes.
But that being said, and I worked hard for 4 years for a company, and they paid me well.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew there was a ceiling, and I had hit it. And I got the idea one day, you know what, I'm going to start my own company. And I gave my notice the next day. And then they fired me the following day.
Oh, wow.
So now all I had was an idea, and now I had to figure it out.
So you created the production company, Living the Dream.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you even know what to do? I'm a little bit in the business, and I have to say, I wouldn't know what that means, what that entails. Did you Google it?
No.
Did you ask questions? Network?
Yes. So
okay.
I knew two people in the entertainment industry. A guy named Danny A., who was a friend of my mom's, who was an ex-nightclub guy and worked with my mother. I went to the premiere of his first film 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to him, and then I reached out to another guy I knew through a friend. And next thing you know, I'm meeting with directors, I'm meeting with producers, I'm getting scripts in my inbox, and I'm learning the math behind, film production. And then I signed on to make my first movie. Next month will be 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that was called The Clapper with Ed Helms, Amanda Seyfried, Adam Levine, Tracy Morgan, and Russell Peters. And I learned. And then from that, everything branched out from there.
What did you have to learn in order to be successful in this new venture, this new chapter of your life?
Well, I don't know how successful I am.
Well, I say you're successful, so you're successful. Look at the actors, though. You're not dealing with B-movie actors. No. You're dealing with, and we'll get into it, Emilio Estevez, who is a writer and producer
And
and
director.
actor and
Yep.
director for one of your films,
Yeah,
Public.
The Public just came out last week.
Yeah. So those are big time people.
Yeah, I've worked with pretty big, very talented, very good actors. Alec Baldwin, Taylor Schilling, Jenna Malone. I mean, the list goes on.
And you also act in these films.
I have Stanley type Alfred Hitchcock cameos in them. Yeah. You could see me there I am. You know, my couple of lines.
Do you like it?
I love it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll really pursue acting as much as I love producing, and maybe I'll move towards directing.
Okay.
And if so, two friends of mine just recently over the last year put me in their movies. Danny
nice.
A being one of them, and another friend of mine, Cameron, and I really enjoyed showing up and acting in their films. I enjoy acting, and we'll see where it goes.
But I see you too much as a businessman to just be in just acting. I mean, and a lot of actors are very wise today to direct and get behind the scenes because you want some control in a business that doesn't have a lot of control.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly difficult business.
Yeah.
You know, and the biggest thing about acting is it's actually quite boring. There's a lot of hurry up and wait, and a lot of waiting and changing sets and changing lighting, and and that, to me, I like to go.
Yeah.
I like
that's interesting.
So for me, I see more moving towards directing. I like producing. I'll move more towards directing, and
would you take a class? Would you just do it based on instincts? Is it based on observing other directors?
It's really just watching others.
Okay.
And it's surrounding yourself with good people.
Yeah.
The director's only as good as his line producer, as his first AD, as his director of cinematography. It's like, and it is just, it's that simple. Like, everybody asks, the question I always get, how do you run a construction company, a production company, and outside investments? And I surround myself with good people, and it's that simple.
Do you think your instincts are somehow better than others about choosing good people?
I don't know if they're better or worse than others.
How do you determine if somebody's a good person to surround yourself with? Is there certain characteristics you look for?
Hardworking, smart, hardworking. Like there's a line producer, and I love the guy, David Hillary. First day I met him, he was confronted on set with a situation, and his answer to this question, it was the absolute right answer. And I was like, there it is, like that guy. And sure enough, he's every bit as smart as I thought he was. And I've worked with him on several of my movies. And it is finding those key people that are smart and hardworking. Like I always say, it's an 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% of people want to do as little as possible and get paid as much as possible to do it. And then there are 20% of the people, guys like me, we just don't know how not to work hard.
Yeah.
It's not even in our DNA. Like we go. We don't stop. We never quit.
It is really true, though. When you surround yourself with good people, you become better. You become smarter.
Yes.
It's just in the air. It's in the conversations that you're having. And when you show up and work really hard, then you can see that quality in other people as well.
And I'm always learning. From others, always learning from somebody smarter than me. And it for me, it is just about surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me.
So what was it like working on this last movie? It's out now, right?
Yes,
in
it
April.
Is out now.
It's called The Public.
Yes.
And there were really important themes in this movie that you talk about, kind of wanting to raise awareness, certain consciousness about certain philanthropic issues that are important to you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So this is exactly the type of movie I got into the movie business to make. For me, everybody says, what genre you're in? I don't have a genre. I want to make entertaining content that makes good business.
Yeah.
Now, if I can tell a story I believe needs to be told, great. Like shining a bright light in a dark place. And the movie The Public does that. Emilio Estevez wrote this script, and then he directed it. He also stars in it, and he did a great job.
What was it like working with him?
He's a sweet guy. I mean,
I love his dad. I don't really know Emilio, but Martin Sheen is the most charming guy you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah, I met his dad at the premiere. Super sweet guy. I mean, but I love the whole family. I mean, they've entertained me my whole life. You know, from Breakfast Club and, you know, I mean, The West Wing is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Yeah. You know, I've literally rewatched every episode of every season 4 times. And, you know, but Emilio did a great job because he's talking about serious subject matter and bringing the conversation to the table, but doing it in an entertaining way. It's not preachy. It's not left. It's not right. It's just telling this story. Like, I didn't know homeless people hang out in libraries. It's a thing. I hadn't been to.
Do we know why? I haven't been to a library in a long time.
I haven't been to a library in a long time, but when I read the script and I read it and I was like, it made sense. And then I went to a library and I checked it out. It was true. Wow. Because it's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter. Yeah. They can go there and get reconnected to their family online, use the computers, and you know, it's pretty wise. It's a homeless person's way to tap back into society, which I had no idea about. Yeah. And he's telling this story about like basically a peaceful protest, you know, during a harsh climate outside, and how it escalates, and how, you know, and it touches on a lot of different themes that we're living in today. Yeah. You know, from a news reporter who's played by Gabriella Union, who's trying to get ratings and cares more about ratings than she cares about the truth. You know, after she's already presented with the evidence. You have a politician
That's
running.
Enough to get you fired, actually, in journalism.
I don't think these days, but you know. But and then you have a politician who's running for office and looking for that, being hard on law and order and cracking skulls, and like so he can make the headlines. And you got this police negotiator, and the politician's played by Christian Slater, and then you got Alec Baldwin, who's the police negotiator, who's stuck in the middle, and he's like just trying to, you know, make sure everybody goes home safe, which is his job. And then Emilio Estevez as the librarian, who's basically became the spokesman for the homeless coalition inside the library. And it's just watching this story unfold, and it's very funny. Like Jenna Malone is one of the librarians, and she has some of the best lines in the movie. I love her. You know, but it's also like, it strikes up the conversation. It's funny. I got emotional.
Well, I think, you know, sometimes when you watch something that's funny, you can get a point across in a more powerful way because it resonates as truth. Yeah. And so that's a very powerful tool, especially when you want to make an important point, especially when it comes to culture or society. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. Was that Emilio's goal? Was that his goal in writing the movie, to make these kind of cultural points or just to highlight what's going on these days?
I don't know. I think, you know, because he wrote it, he got the idea for this 12 years ago. Oh, wow. And he wrote it a long time ago, and then it bounced around to different studios, and people optioned it, but nobody ever made it. And then I came on board, and we made it. But this was a labor of love for him. Yeah. He's been out there the last month and a half showing it at libraries across the country, homeless coalitions, and like trying to drum up that grassroots support for the film, film festivals, and out there doing talk shows and like doing everything and anything he possibly can to promote the movie.
That's great.
Yeah, he's, you know, a hardworking guy.
We have a picture behind you of you and your girlfriend, and you have exciting things going on. You're moving in together.
We are.
Yeah. And she's a good woman in your life that supports you.
She's the best.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love her.
You have a strong relationship. How did the two of you meet?
We are mutual friends. And timing's everything. Yeah. I just think we met at the right time in our lives. Yeah. You know, we talk about it like, had we met a year earlier, we probably would have just gone our separate ways. But you know, she's perfect for me. She might not be perfect, but she's perfect for me.
Well, that's all that counts, and we wish you the best of luck with that. Before we let you go, we want to do something called the Quick Five. Have you ever seen the Quick Five?
I have not.
Where we help people get a better sense of who you are.
All right.
So here we go. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received. never give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, never give up.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. What personality trait has gotten you in the most trouble?
My ego.
Oh, yeah, that could get
Yeah,
us all in a lot of trouble.
yeah.
It's such a pleasure when you can kind of put that away and not take things as personally. It's a constant struggle, but certainly worth trying and aiming for,
Absolutely.
right?
If I could get out of my own way, everything will go much smoother.
Listen, it's ongoing, right? I think for all of us, as long as we're living, we have to figure out how to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
That's my thought. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
My daughter.
Aw, and she's a teen.
Yeah, she's 15 and she's an absolute rock star. Like, I
Aw.
mean, she impresses me on a daily basis.
Does she want to go to college? Does she want to go into acting, movies,
She's
business?
never really shown interest in acting. She currently wants to start modeling.
Oh.
And she's a phenomenal singer. I always keep telling her she should go sing.
Yeah.
And she will go to college. Yeah, I mean, it's not really an option. You know, I think it's just on her things to do list. But yeah, she's a great kid.
Oh, that's great. When you're having a bad day, what do you do to make yourself feel better?
Watch puppy and kitten videos.
Really?
All the time.
Cute.
Everybody laughs at me because, like, I'll be on my phone and I work on the phone, so I'm always doing something on the phone. But like my daughter and my girlfriend, they'll hear me laughing. You
And they
watching
know what
puppy
you're doing,
videos, aren't you?
Well, they trend on YouTube, so you're right on point. As a child, what did you wish to become when you grew up?
It changed a lot, like and I did it all.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice?
I did it all. I except for being a lawyer.
Okay.
Because I used to watch LA Law as a kid, and I was gonna become a cop and go to night school.
Are you still interested in law school?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. You've spoken to a couple of lawyers, haven't you?
No, I'm just I'm not academically inclined.
Okay.
I'm dyslexic, and I only read 4 books cover to cover in my life. I read more over the last 3 years since I started the production company because now I'm reading screenplays. But I unfortunately I can't be taught anything. I have to learn everything, and I have to learn it by doing it.
Yeah.
It's the only way I really know.
Well, we are so excited to have you here. What's next for you? Where can people find you and look for you?
Sure. I'm on Instagram, and the company website is www.ltdfilms.nyc. And I'm on Instagram at Ray Bouderau and at Living the Dream Films.
And we will also have a link so people can find you.
Great.
And stay tuned to all the exciting projects that you're working on. And hopefully you'll come back the next time you have a movie that's coming out.
Absolutely.
Yes, we would love that.
Look forward to it.
Thank you for joining Talking Live. We'll see you again next week.